Hello and welcome. I'm Ben and this is my business update for July. So this is a new series that I'll be publishing every month talking about my business journey and how it's performing. It's content which I don't really see online, so hopefully this will resonate to a number of people out there where either they want to become a business owner, do their own thing, or they are already and they want to get a little maybe inspiration or a bit of thoughts on what somebody else is doing in their same area. So my updates will consist on how the business is performing, general updates in regards to business improvements. We'll talk about product development. We'll talk around kind of operations, marketing, sales, the whole range. And also, how does that align to my future vision for the business? I will touch upon a number of things, but like always, if there is particular areas that you would like me to cover, I'm happy to go into that into more detail and talk about that at any length or any detail that you see fit. So if that does appeal to you and you do want to see particular things, just leave a comment below or reach out. I've got numerous contact forms. You'll see them in the description of this video. Please feel free to reach out. But otherwise, if that content sounds appealing to you, stay tuned. Hopefully it won't go on too long. I'll keep it as brief as possible but informative. Let's just jump straight into the content. So this is the content that we're covering today. So firstly, we'll go into sprint review and what's been achieved in the last month. So how has the business developed and grown? We'll then go into the business performance, which will be quite light, and we'll go into details on that when we go to it. We've got product development, so what products are coming through the pipeline, what we're working on as a business. Got general updates, stuff which doesn't really fall within those categories, but it's just worth mentioning. We'll briefly review kind of what's coming up in the next month, so what's in the sprint, what's being developed, and then lastly is how we're aligning that to our future and what's our key focus for the next quarter and maybe 6 months. So that'll be the content for the video. So the first part we'll be jumping into now is the business development and sprint review. There's going to be 2 parts to this. Firstly, we'll jump straight across to my business management system, which is in Notion, which you're pleased to hear, and then we'll just do a kind of overall summary of how things have achieved. So let's just jump straight over to Notion and see what's going on. So this is the Notion system that I've just been explaining, and there is a lot of information on this screen, so bear with, and I'll go through each individual element just to make sure that it's all crystal clear what you're seeing right now. I won't go through like this in every single business update because you'll get used to this and you'll get used to the flow, but for the first go through, I'll just briefly explain kind of what's involved. And we'll use the first card as an example. So every single task on this board has been broken down from the phases, which I talked about in an earlier video, and you can see it here on each card. You've got like phase 6, you've got phase 7, so quite a few phases overlapping, which is expected. And each task will have a status. If it's in progress, you won't see it here because this is a sprint review. But that will be what I'm actually working on. So the first 2 ones is just the allocation of the tasks themselves, and this is really good for me when I do an end of month sprint review like this. I can see what's been achieved, and this is how I get this representation. I talked about the business stage, so we're very late on in the process. We're progressing nicely through manufacturing. We've pretty much done marketing and sales, and we're now going headstrong into the distribution phase. Very close to launch, which is very exciting. The next one is kind of business category or business function. So you can see we've got business, we've got finance, we've got operations, we've got marketing, and that's the ones that have been achieved. There's other ones such as product, sales, just to mention a few other business processes. So this just from a snapshot point of view, you can see kind of where a lot of the activity this month has been focused on. For me, it's all been about marketing and sales because that is the stage that we're into. Next one is priority. So this is just the importance of that task. So if I've got numerous amount of tasks, like you can see here, I can then easily quickly go in. I need to get the business insurance done before testing the email structure, as an example. I've got the size of the tasks. This is just time investment. So if it's a medium task, it's going to take a moderate amount of time. If it's a small one, it should be relatively straightforward to box off pretty quickly. And then a large task could take potentially a week or more. So just, if you've got some small tasks that you can box off really quickly, just get them done. Then you've got the progress of the task here. So each task will be broken down into achievable pieces of work, which I'll talk about in a second. And then lastly is the sprint allocation. We're at sprint 5, which is July. Sprint 6 is August. So that's how things are allocated. Anything that's left over that hasn't been achieved in sprint 5 will roll over to sprint 6. and will be reviewed, but also new tasks will be added to Sprint 6, which we'll go on to in a later section of this video. So that's just the process, that's the cards, that's how it's all put together. Now, let's just go into what was achieved. And I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible because there's a lot of content here. So firstly is business insurance is the first card that we're going to talk about today. And that was something that had to be done ASAP, especially if you're like me, you're a product business, you're going to sell to consumers. You need to make sure what insurance you got is appropriate. So I needed to get customer liability insurance and business contents insurance. Those are the main two from all the research that I did. Liability is needed if there's accidents or there's a fault. Hopefully it never comes to that, but you have to keep yourself covered for the worst case scenarios, especially for me when I'm selling candles. There is a flame, there is fire, naturally. Anything can happen. So you need to make sure you're covered if the worst case happens and you have to go to court, you have to go through all that kind of process. And secondly is contents insurance. Kind of says it upon itself. Probably most people that are watching this video are aware of contents insurance, but effectively if an accident happens at the studios or when I'm going and the premises burns down, I am covered and I can recoup my costs so I can spin up in an alternative location, hopefully keep the business going. It's all about business continuity. So that's the first card. That was done. That was achieved. We got the insurance and I'm happy with what we got. Next is the email structure. So this is just testing it. And what I mean by email structure, so I've structured the business in a certain way for growth. So I've not just set up my own personal email account and subscribed to everything on my own personal email account. For all marketing platforms, all marketing material, I've created a marketing mailbox for that activity. So if I, in the future, hire somebody for my social media team, which is absolutely going to be required at some point, I will just give them access to the marketing mailbox and they'll get all the access that they need. Same with operations, same with kind of finance. So this is just me making sure all those email addresses are set up appropriately, which they are. So obviously I'm not going to bore you to death, but those are the examples that I use. Operations is the big one, marketing is the big one, and finance, because those are going to be the areas, hopefully in the future when I recruit, they're going to be the areas that I'm going to focus on first to take the time away from me so I can focus more on business growth. Moving outside the business section, we're moving over to finance. And the two one here is setting up Xero, which is our main bookkeeping software. This is essential for any business to make sure that they're keeping on top of their outgoings and income. Outgoings, obviously important to make sure anything that's going out is tracked and is effectively tagged appropriately. You don't want things going out of the business which you don't know about, but also you can reconcile. So where's your biggest cost? For most businesses, it's going to be cost of goods, it's going to be subscriptions, it's going to be technology, it's going to be hosting, and potentially PAYE salaries. So I'll set up Xero. It's all been set up. I've got experience with Xero, so that's why I've set up myself. But I've also got accountants on the side to help me on this process as well. It's very, very complicated, finance, taxation, bookkeeping. So it's always very good if you don't know this process to actually approach an accountant so they'll help through all this. So that's been set up. Xero is now good. Every single financial platform, any transaction goes through Xero, which is really good to see. I can see my ingoings and outgoings, account balances, all that kind of stuff from a very single view, which is really good. Nextly is my registration of a bank account. This took way longer than I anticipated, and it's just because of the requirements of the particular bank that I went for. I went for Starling, which is one of the market leaders in the UK for businesses, especially startups. And the process to go through to start a bank account was much more rigorous than I expected. So you have to get a business case document put together and send it over to him, like what's about the business. You have to have a website. You have to have understand where your cash flow is going to come from. So you're going to actually take cash, because that's a big problem for a digital bank. Where's your transaction going to come from? How gives you a plan effectively. So I didn't anticipate that. So registering a bank account took longer, and finally I got it. I got the plastic card last week, so now I have a card which is the Essence Business on the card, which is a big milestone for me anyway, just to see something physical showing the business. It's quite amazing, really. So yeah, that's been done, and that's the last part of the financials. Moving into operations, I tested the labeling process. So this is the delivery labels on packages, make sure the dimensions are appropriate, and it's what integrates with the packaging and delivery provider that we're using. So that was done. All the labelling done has been achieved. Purchasing all the parcel materials. So this is parcel tape. This is the actual boxes themselves. That is the gun itself, the filling, all the parcel materials required for all that has been researched. Took longer than anticipated because one of the key values of the business is sustainability. So finding a supplier which was sustainable but also at the right price point was difficult. Luckily, we was able to achieve that in the end, but it was a painful process, to say the least. That's been done, and then that moves us nicely over to reviewing the parcel boxes themselves. So we made the purchases and we made some prototypes to make sure everything is what we wanted, which was good. So those two very closely interlinked, which got us through the operational process. So from an operation perspective, we are now ready, up and running. Everything's been manufactured, everything's been produced, all the parcels, everything's been ready. So operational, we're good to go. Next is marketing, and there's a lot of stuff here, so I'm going to quickly get through this because there's a hell of a lot. So firstly, I'm going to talk with email discount process. So we have an automated process on Shopify using Klaviyo to send out email discount codes to customers that sign up for our newsletter. You get 10% off your first order when you sign up for it, and that's all automated. So we've tested it, it all works really well, which is good. We launched the YouTube channel, which this video is going on to, which is a part of our content marketing strategy. So I think this just resonates more to consumers when they can actually see the person behind the business, and also you can see how things are developing, how things are growing, and also, you know, from a snapshot point of view, hopefully in a year's or so time we can look back on this video going, oh my god, look how far we've come. It's just great to see the journey. There's a few people that I actively watch on YouTube who do a similar approach to me, and I just think it's just amazing just to see kind of the growth of not just the business but the individual itself. I think it really resonates to the customer and it gives really good brand awareness. So launched the YouTube channel in July, which was a big one. Next kind of several up here are all about the strategy. So customer reviews, content marketing, influencing, advertisements, SEO, social media, the overall kind of email marketing strategy, and lastly is how does all that tie together. So make sure that when we're capturing customer reviews, we get testimonials, we can publish them online. I think it's super important. Content marketing around blogs, YouTube, kind of email content, super important. Got influence in marketing, so getting brand awareness around, especially local. That's our approach so far, is appeal to local influencers in the area to get them buzzing about the brand and posting about it. Got advertisement and SEO. Our main advertisement channel will be Instagram initially, but then, you know, we want to really grow into SEO. So SEO and Instagram, Meta are going to be the main channels for us so far. That obviously ties into the social media strategy, and what I mean by that is not just the advertisements but the content that's going up on social media. I have a theme that I want to follow, which just basically is resonant to what I want to do as a brand. So it's all around nature, sustainability, all those are tied around the products that we want to sell, and it talks about the fragrances and the manufacturing process, just insights into the brand. And I think that's really key for social media, instead of just always product. Actually tell me about your brand. They're the brands that I resonate to me, is when they tell me a bit more about the why. And then, how does that tie into the overall strategy? So what goals do we want to do in the first year in regards to maybe following, engagement, awareness, at the most successful channels, all that kind of stuff. And then that's broken down into actual tasks for the month. So, you know, how much content do we need to put out there on a weekly basis? What's our daily schedule, our frequency? And that ties nicely into the next task, which we're setting up Buffer. Buffer is a scheduling tool. So I don't know if, well, for me anyway, I don't have every single day where I can sit down in a laptop and create social media content and put it online. So I need a scheduling platform to help me with that, and Buffer's the one. It's got a free subscription model, which I'm taking advantage of. I probably will invest into the starter package, which is £10 a month, which allows me to schedule multiple months in advance. And I think that's really key. Talked about email strategy, customer feedback process. So this is just getting testimonials, sending out emails if people have opted into marketing to ask them for their feedback. I'm also going to ask feedback from friends, family, colleagues, all that kind of stuff around what do you like. because I think a product with testimonials and reviews is much more resonant and resonates more with consumers when they make that first purchase. Setting up email marketing. That is, we're using Klaviyo as a business because it integrates nicely with Shopify. So this is setting up automated journeys within the platform. So, if somebody makes multiple purchases or somebody, opts into our marketing material, they get various different ones, discounts, loyal followers, VIPs, all that kind of stuff. Everything's set up, so everything's automated, which is brilliant. And last two, just down here, is social media artwork. So this is logos, banners, descriptions, backlinks, and that kind of links nicely. As you can see, there's a sequence of events here. Lastly is connecting up all these plans, so making sure like the social media channels are integrated nicely with Shopify, and Shopify is publishing these social media channels. All the social media is linked into the email marketing, and they're linked into the influencer and the content. Everything needs, it's a web of kind of connectivity. So that is the last task, just making sure everything was connected, which it is. And that was the last task that was achieved. A fair amount was done in this sprint. I'm really, really happy with what was done, especially just being me. There was a lot to do, especially in an area where it's not my strong suit. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So hopefully you can agree. Lots been done in Sprint 5. So let's just quickly go into a summary of what was done, and then we'll move on to the next section, which was business performance. So this is the overall summary of what was achieved in the sprint. The content management strategy was achieved, and content was launched over YouTube, email marketing, and social media. Configured the customer feedback process and make sure it was automated and not as onerous as other customer feedback I have witnessed. I set up buffer for content scheduling, and that's over a month period. Completed the 10% discount sign up process on the website. So all marketing activities were captured throughout every single month, and that is consistent with what needs to be achieved for the business. Set up all the back-end business processes, including bookkeeping in Xero and the business bank account. I set up all the website, including all the content, all the pictures. Completed the first production run of the Lakes candle, and I'll go into detail in another slide in a second. Was able to finally register for business liability insurance, which was a pain in the neck, but it's been done. And lastly is acquired all the necessary parcel materials for distribution and delivery. I like to do this anyway, just if there's things that I anticipated and didn't go so well. So what didn't go so well? Wasn't able to complete all the production runs, but as of today, when I'm making this video, that's now been achieved. So all production has now been achieved. Operations is a go. And lastly is, what could be improved in the next sprint. I think overall, there isn't really much else that I would want to achieve. I've achieved a lot in Sprint 5, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself what can be improved. I think the one thing that I will say is not to overload with too many tasks throughout the month, and that's what I've done. So for Sprint 6, I've been a little bit more diligent in the tasks that I have selected, just because there was a whole lot achieved. Just cautious not to burn myself or stack myself too high. But that was the business development side of Essence. So yeah, hopefully you found that business update really useful. And we're going to go right quickly into next stage, which is the business performance. This is going to be, I'd say, difficult because the business is still not at that launch stage, but I'll just briefly talk about what you can expect from this in the future, especially in the next one when we will be going live in August. What you can expect. So what I'll be putting together is key business metrics, so overall business performance. That can be kind of from a financial perspective. Obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's some things that I do have to keep private, but overall just general key business metrics around performance. Customer acquisition performance, so how are all the marketing and content strategies going on, what in regards to engagements and awareness. Operational update, so how is production going, how is delivery going, any issues, any teething problems. Talk about our sustainability pledge, is there any issues in regards to how that's going, and talk about what is our pledge. And lastly is any other trends that I would like to share, so even seasonality, or is there things that I've witnessed in the marketplace which would be useful to share. So that's what I'll be covering in the business performance side of this update. But naturally, for today, there isn't much of an update because the business isn't live yet. It will be. I'm excited. Anyway, next up is product development, and I guess on this one, I'll talk briefly in regards to what products are going to launch in August and then what's coming up in the near future. So these are the main kind of products that are in flight. The main one is the medium candle and discovery sets. That is what will be live in August. Firstly, we'll be launching with a medium candle, and then shortly afterwards, within a week or so, the discovery sets will go live as well. That will consist of the 4 collection ranges that we have: Lakes, Peaks, Snowdon and Highlands, all with their different unique fragrance notes between floral, wood and earthy tones, and also, more fresh fragrances. So that's what will be going live in August. And shortly, I'd say in the next couple of months, I'll be developing, supporting products that just will enhance those other ones. So having a branded wicks cutter, which is really important, getting some matches and a bottle which match the brand, which would be really cool. And then moving into a brand new product, wax melts, which would be exciting because I'm cautious, like some people have their own kind of utensils, pottery where they want to do that. And then lastly is we'll be launching a new collection scent altogether. So those are the things that will be achieved quickly after go live of those. So it's just really interesting to see where things are going. This is only a short-term view within months. We've got a massive backlog of products that we want to develop into, but this is just a very small snapshot within the next couple of months, which I thought you might be interested to see. Next up is general updates. This is anything which doesn't really fall within those last 3 categories around development, performance and product. And there's only really one just to mention, is there's a Shopify event going in August. They reached out to me as part of their startup program with other entrepreneurs in the local area, talking about e-commerce, product development, and I think it's just something that you should surround yourself in that kind of area to see what people are doing and what's going on in the overall ecosystem. So really excited for that. That's the only real general update. Other things you'll see here in regards to are we going to a marketing event or a pop-up stall or any kind of wholesale deals or stuff like that, which is pretty important to share and quite interesting. But yeah, that's just a general update for July. Moving over to kind of next sprint, and I'll move back over to Notion just to talk about what you can expect, and I'll do a brief summary of kind of what to expect or what we want to achieve. This is the general summary of things to expect from a product perspective in the next couple of weeks before business go live. So firstly is the estimation of delivery costs. Really, really important for business to understand their overall commitments, how they're going to do that. So that is nearly there. There's a few things needed just to summarize, and that's just around firstly international parcels, something that I'm looking into, but also weight classes. So nearly there, just a few things just outstanding. Quality assurance, so finalizing the quality assurance on the candles, so making sure it meets the standards that I expect of the product. Done one so far. There's a final, so what I'll maybe share it at some point, is I have a quality assurance test report. So every single batch is dip sampled and tested, and it's a rigorous testing process in regards to burn rate, the actual throw, a plethora of testing requirements, and if it doesn't meet the strict guidelines that I'm looking for, it'll go back into production. So done one so far, which is passed, and then we've got 3 more left, and that will be done in the next couple of days, which I'm excited to do. Just documentation of the overall delivery process. That's important, just especially if I want to bring somebody new into the business at some point. I need to make sure everything is documented, and that's what the purpose of Notion is documenting the whole system. Every single process has been noted down, the standard operating procedures, just in case I need to bring somebody in to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. Next up is just making the final touches to the business management system, or Notion. There's a few pages which I just need to make sure the documentation is appropriate. Nearly there. I say 50% on the card. It's actually closer to 90% if I'm honest. But yeah, very, very close to finishing the Notion system, which is super important, especially when there's a lot of things going on in the business. It keeps me structured and organised. Next up is doing a full end-to-end test of an order. So that is making a purchase through the website. Then obviously fulfilling that order, getting it delivered, tracked, making sure the finances are tracking through Xero, the full end-to-end, which is going to be interesting, I'll be honest. So looking forward to that, just so, when the go live happens, there's not going to be any problems when it comes to making the order through the website. That is automatically synced to our distribution platform. It's automatically synced through our inventory platform. It's also synced to our Xero to make sure every single piece from a financial perspective is tagged. So all of those things need to work, but also making sure the notifications go to customers at the right time, all that kind of stuff. So testing the full end-to-end is one of the biggest milestones before going live. Next one is creating the social media backlog. Nearly there when it comes to this. I want to get a backlog, all the social media material created for August. Obviously, things will drop in ad hocly anyway, but it's making sure there's a consistency when it comes to social media. And then the last ones are just basically a full review. I'm going to do a full review of the website, make sure all the links, all the pictures, all the descriptions, all the products, everything is what I expect. And then lastly is do a full review of our product suite. So make sure that the descriptions are appropriate, all the recommendations, all the guides, everything is ready. So yeah, they're the 9 tasks that are still in motion. I'm pretty sure there's more tasks that have been completed, but that's in Sprint 6 review, which you'll look forward to. So that's what I'm anticipated for. Naturally, things can fall within the sprint. If I manage to achieve all this stuff ahead of time, new stuff will come in, new tasks will be achieved. But that is what I want to do in the next couple of weeks, is get all that stuff done. But now let's move back into the overall summary, just to show kind of what the general goal is for the business in the next couple of weeks. The summary from what I just talked about. These are the targets really. I want to finish the delivery and distribution process on all the platforms. That includes the pricing. I want to quality assure all the products and all the packaging. I want to finish all the standard operating procedures when it comes to order fulfillment. I want to do the final touches to the business management system in Notion. I want to make an end-to-end order from website to distribution to delivery and all the platforms in between. I want to create all the social media backlog for August. And lastly is just a quality test and review of all the marketing material and website content for go live. So quite an important sprint, very close, as you can see. We're not too far away from launch, which is super, super exciting. And the last one is really just making sure that it's all aligned to the future of the business, which I'm hoping you will agree is quite consistent. So for the business, the first thing really is not to distract myself and the business in looking into other markets. We have a very ambitious plan of the next 2 to 3 years, but the focus in the next 12 months is fragrances and scaling that business. Developing the product lines, developing new fragrances, developing new collections. So that is the absolute focus in the next 12 months. So any ideas that come into the business, because I'm an ideas person and a visionary, just go. I have an innovations board. I put it into the innovation boards and I forget about it, because otherwise it's just going to distract me from what's needed. The next one is a hyper focus on customer engagement and acquisition. I think for the first 6 months of any business, you need to understand your audience, you need to understand your customer base, you just need to understand and get better over time. And that is super important for me. So that is through all the content, YouTube being one of them as well, email marketing, influencer marketing, everything when it comes to engagement is just like a hyper focus for us. I'll continue to review the operational processes and make improvements and time savings. Being the only person, any time that I can save is so important. If I can shave off 30 minutes from an operational process or production run, it's so valuable. It's so valuable. So I'll continue to optimize and get better when it comes to operations, and I'll happily share that at some point. I'm going to optimize the sales channels, so I'll continue to review engagement on the channels. So that's not just Shopify, but that is through SEO channels using Instagram, Facebook. Also got integration with Pinterest. All these sales channels, seeing what is garnering the most amount of interest and clicks, and then focusing what's going right, what's not going so right, and stuff like that. And lastly is I'll continue to engage with local businesses for collaborations in the local area. I think it's just it's so cool to collaborate with other business owners. They might have ideas, they might have suggestions, things to grow, maybe mistakes not to make, stuff like that. So those are kind of 5 key focuses for the business over the next kind of several months. And I'll keep repeating this probably in most business updates. If things come in, which is going to be a key focus, I'll put it in here. But that is just something to keep me aligned, keep me focused. Those are the 5 areas that I'll be driving. And that is pretty much it for the business focus. And that is it. That is my business update for July. It's been a pretty intense month. Lots going on. I hope you agree there's been a fair amount achieved. Business isn't too far away from the big launch day. I'm really, really nervous, but also excited to see kind of how that transpires to my audiences and my customers that I've already begun engaging with. But yeah, I'm really passionate about this. As you can tell, obviously the content went on longer than I anticipated, but that's what happens when you talk about something which you generally care about and you want the best out of it. So, but I hope this information, this content, this update has been insightful, informative for your own journey. If you have liked it, please, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All the feedback is greatly appreciated. I do want to get to know audiences, but that's it. Obviously, the next update will be August, and it will be a similar format. I'll obviously adjust it and improve it along the way. I'll provide more business performance updates because at that point the business will be live, which will be very exciting. And naturally, there will be more videos going in between in regards to my business process and stuff like that. But otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great rest of the day, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.